Having the proper mental or psychological preparation can have a huge impact on your sports performance. In fact, it's not just sports, it carries over into other aspects of life. Anytime you're competing or performing, whether that's in music or giving a speech or in sales, in any of those scenarios, when you have a proper mindset and you're confident, you're going to perform much better than when you have doubts in the back of your mind. We can all think of examples of Cinderella stories in sports when there were teams or individuals who had no right winning, but they defeated Goliath somehow. On paper, it didn't make sense, but they had the right mental mindset. Some examples of these that come to mind in my lifetime, I remember in 1980 in the Olympics, Miracle on Ice. You had Team USA, a bunch of college amateur athletes, defeated the dominant Soviet Union hockey team. Then 85 NCAA tournament, you had dominant Georgetown that was supposed to win it all, and Villanova upset them and surprised everyone with that win. Then you have undefeated Mike Tyson get knocked out by Buster Douglas of all people. No one saw that coming. So it's not uncommon in sports for a dominant team to underestimate an opponent or take things for granted. That's one of the beautiful things about March Madness, the tournament I love watching every March, is to see some of these upsets, some of these lesser known teams taking down some of the big dogs. The first time I remember hearing about mental preparation was at a basketball camp I attended. It was taught by Jim Spencer, the legendary Utah high school coach. He had a saying, he kept saying, mental is to physical as 3 is to 1. If you have two opponents, but one of them has more of a mental edge, is more mentally prepared, they're going to benefit from that. That's a saying I've never forgotten. And as important as it is to have physical conditioning and practice and that sort of thing, when your mindset's right and when you're mentally prepared, you're going to perform so much better. A movie I love that illustrates this point is Rocky III. If you've seen this, you know in the first fight when he's fighting Mr. T, Clubber Lang, he's so intimidated by him. Look at this face-off in the ring before the fight. He won't even look him in the eye. You know he's already lost at this point.
Dead meat.
So as you can tell, Rocky's psyched out at the beginning of this. He doesn't do well. He takes a beating and loses the match. Now, if you contrast that first fight with the second one, the rematch, after he's got the eye of the tiger, he's no longer intimidated by his opponent. Very different outcome on that match.
I'll bust you up. Go for it.
Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Ain't nothing.
And I know Rocky's not scientific data, but it does a good job of portraying this concept. Speaking of being mentally tough, I love this video. This is of Michael Phelps at the Rio Olympics. Before the meet, there was an athlete from South Africa, a swimmer, just kind of distracting him, kind of getting in front of him, shadow boxing in front of him, just kind of getting in his space. And I love the look on his face. He's just like locked in, like don't even think about it. You think he'd be smart enough not to poke that bear. Anyway, it didn't work. A lot of people don't realize how much mental toughness goes into sports. An example of this is in football when there's a close game, last second kick to determine the game. Right before they kick the field goal, the coach will call timeout, try and ice the kicker, make him sit through a timeout and put more pressure on him. And a lot of times it pays off. Being mentally prepared means you're mentally tough and you're not going to be easily distracted or intimidated. And there are plenty of distractions out there in the world of sports. Another example I can think of in 1990, I believe it was, when Hank Gathers tragically died during a basketball game. And I remember seeing some footage of a friend of his had a game that same night. He was playing in the game. He was on the bench when someone came down and told him what had happened. And just to see this athlete who had been performing well, had a great game, and then all of a sudden he hears this news, he puts a towel over his head and he just crumples down sobbing. And that was the end of the night. There's nothing else he can do. And I'm not criticizing his reaction one bit. It was just a horrible tragedy, but just to show that what comes in the mind, how that can affect the body so drastically. So here are a couple ideas of how you might mentally prepare better for a sporting event. First one is to familiarize yourself with the surroundings. It's this time of year where we're getting close to college football bowl season. And you'll notice when these teams travel and go out of state and go to a bowl game, they don't show up there a couple hours before. They usually go a couple of days before, get used to the time zone, they get used to the stadium and the field, have some practice there. So that's an important thing to familiarize yourself with that. A runner is going to do better if they can run that course previously and be familiar with what to expect. When I was in high school, we always made sure that when the JV team was playing, the varsity team was supposed to be in the bleachers watching them, getting mentally prepared, thinking about the game instead of off screwing around doing whatever they wanted. So familiarizing yourself is a great way to mentally prepare. Another thing you can do to mentally prepare is to visualize. I actually did a video on this previously. You can look that up in the library. But visualization is a powerful practice as you see yourself doing the thing you're trying to accomplish. This is really common in sports when you'll see it at the free throw line. Sometimes you'll have players like Steve Nash is a good example of this. He'll shoot some practice free throws before they hand him the ball and he does the real thing. We see it in martial arts when someone's trying to break some boards. They'll do kind of a dry run and channel their energy and get ready for it before they actually do the strike. In golfing, we see the same thing. When someone has an important putt, they're not just going to rush it, but they're going to practice it beforehand in their head, visualize it, and see it going in. And then another obvious thing you can do that will help your mental preparation is just practicing. Whatever it is you're trying to accomplish or do, the more you practice that, the more repetition you get, you'll have more muscle memory, more conditioning to respond appropriately, and you're not going to have to think about it as much and make it a mind game. So practice is a huge thing. And then finally, you got to give a lot of credit to coaches. That's why it's so important to have a good coach. They can prepare you for the unknown, calm your anxiety, give you confidence, let you know what you need to be up for and prepared for. So a coaching staff that does a good job of preparing their players is a huge benefit and a great way to mentally prepare. If you can think of any specific practices or things that have helped you to be more mentally prepared or prepare for an event, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. Have another one next week, and feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already.